Welcome back. I'm on the AWS platform website over here, and you can see that they have a lot of services that we can use, all of them with pretty interesting sounding names. Amazon Aurora, Amazon Rekognition, where we can do image recognition, similar like we have with our Clarifai API. They have storage, they have compute, they have migration, they have AR, VR. If there's one thing that there's no shortage of, is all these services that make your head hurt and you just cannot decide what you need and what you want to do. So I'm going to go over some of the basic ones, some of the ones that are the most common and things that you'll most likely encounter in your day-to-day job. But if you want, you can go explore different services and see what they offer. Chances are that if you're trying to do something, Amazon probably offers an easy solution for it. Now, you still will have to write code, but they take care of all those pain points that perhaps we don't want to worry about, such as configuration, setups, and machines. Anyway, let's get back on track. The ones I'm going to talk about are these 5. And like I said before, these are the most common ones that you'll see. And we're getting right now into what we call DevOps field, which as a web developer, you might not touch as much because some companies have dedicated people that work on these things because there's just so many things that you need to keep up with. But it's really important for us to know how these pieces fall into our web developer stack. Now, let's start off with this one in the corner, EC2. Again, naming, Amazon is not the best at naming, so they're kind of hard to really wrap your hand around. You might have to come back to this video, but you'll get it by the end of it. Don't worry. Now, EC2 is what we call a bare metal machine to run whatever compute you want. So you want to think of EC2 as a basic server you can run, kind of like the DigitalOcean Linux server that we created. That's what EC2 is. You can run your backend REST API or a server on EC2 instead of, let's say, DigitalOcean or Heroku. So that's pretty nice, and we've used something like that before, so that makes sense. All we need to do is sign up on AWS and say, I want this, and they'll set everything up for you. You can tell them, oh yeah, I want this to have Node available, and it'll be on a Linux machine. So that's nice. This is a general purpose bare metal server. Then there's S3. And S3 is what we call an object storage service. Now, what that means is that each object is stored as a file with its metadata and ID. And you can think of it as an object, right? That's what S3 is, an object storage. You have a key or an ID, and with that ID, you can access whatever object that ID stores. And why is that useful? Well, with S3, it enables us to upload and store and also download pretty much any file or object that we may want. If we want to store an image, yeah, we can load that on S3. If we want to store maybe a massive object, yeah, we can store that over here. For example, with our SmartBrain app, we might want to load the images or save the images that the users send to Clarifai API here so that in the future we can train the model better. And S3 has a size limit of 5 gigabytes, so you can imagine you can load up some pretty big things. But it's great for storage. Maybe we want to have profile pictures for our SmartBrain app and our users. Well, we might want to load up the profile pictures in the S3 bucket. Let's talk about the next one. And this is the one that really gets me excited. And we're going to be actually experimenting with this in this section. It's called Lambda. And with Lambda, you can run code for virtually any type of application or backend service. The beauty is that you simply just provided a function. Lambda simply says, hey, just give me a function and let me know when to run it, and I'll run it for you. That's it. There's zero administration that we need, zero configuration. We simply upload our code, and Lambda takes care of everything required to run and scale your code with high availability. That means whenever we need that code run, don't worry, Amazon's going to take care of it. If 1,000 people try to run the code at the same time, the function at the same time, let's say the insert image function. Well, Lambda automatically is going to scale and have, oh yeah, I'll just create multiple instances of this function so that we can handle 1,000, 1,000,000 users. And this is something that we're going to talk about later on in this course as we build our own Lambda function, and you'll have a better idea of what it does. It has some really interesting applications. For example, with Lambda, you can use events to get triggered. Maybe somebody mentions you in your app. Well, you can trigger Lambda to run the function notify about message. Again, we're going to get into this later on, so hold on tight. This is very, very exciting. Let's talk about the next one, CloudFront. Amazon CloudFront is a web service that speeds up distribution of our static files. And you might think of this as a CDN. Our HTML, CSS, JavaScript image files can now be put on CloudFront, and Amazon delivers this content through a worldwide network of data centers, exactly like a CDN does. So we've talked about Cloudflare before and CDNs as well. Again, something that we cover in Performance Part 3. And this makes our apps extremely fast when we request our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files. Because Amazon has so many servers everywhere around the world, if I'm in India, well, whatever server is closest to me is going to serve up that static file. And they also provide automatic HTTPS, so secure connection. And then finally, we have something like DynamoDB. Again, Amazon also lets you have databases. And this is a fast NoSQL database. And again, they manage scaling for you. And it uses something that we're familiar with, key value storage model. A key and a value, and you can access that, whatever value is in the database, through that key. And it's known for its reliability with performance, and a lot of people are using it in web, mobile, IoT, gaming, and so many other things. Whew, that was a lot. And there's a ton of other services. But I hope this gives you an idea what they provide for us. So we don't have to go out on our own and start building things from scratch. Now, there's something called flowcharts or Amazon flowcharts. And it shows what people use to make their architecture or how their logic flows through their app. And there's many, many ways that you can attach pieces, kind of like Lego blocks, and try different things. Here's an example. With our app, our SmartBrain app, for example, we can have CloudFront CDNs all over the world so that when a user goes online from anywhere in the world, they're served our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files from whatever server is the closest. And then that CDN, once the user has the files, if they make a fetch request to our backend REST API, which we can put on our EC2 instance, is now our REST API, our Express server. And then in here, maybe we can store our user information in DynamoDB. Our user profiles, perhaps we can leave them here. And then perhaps when they submit an image, instead of having it work over here, because this machine is already busy listening to connections, maybe we just trigger a Lambda function. And this Lambda function says, all right, you just send me a URL of an image. I'm going to send that image to Clarify, get a response, and perhaps store that response object in our S3 bucket so we can analyze it later. And the S3 bucket is going to return us whatever Clarify sent us. And there's so many ways that you can build this. And that's the beauty of it. It's like you're a little web developer child building different things based on what your needs are. And this is when being a senior developer and understanding how things are connecting is important. Because you can look at these diagrams and the needs of your application to decide what is the best flow that you can have. Let's have a look at some of the flows that people have come up with. If I simply type here, let's say AWS flow, and let's just do images, I got flow logs. But you see over here that we get a ton of different things that we can do. And sometimes your head hurts. Oh, we can't open this one, but we can see it. Your head hurts from all the things that you can do. Now, the best thing you can do is just learn about what each one of these does so that when a problem arises, when you say, my server is starting to slow down because of all these users, what can we do to scale it, to manage it? You can say, let me check out Amazon and see what kind of services they provide that might help with us. And like I said, this is getting into a topic that we call DevOps, and some web developers might not even touch AWS, but as a senior developer, it's important to understand infrastructure and how things are connected and how things can grow. Because by building applications with this idea in mind, when we start very, very small, as long as we have this sort of thing in the back of our mind, we write code that will work well with some of this infrastructure. For example, if we have small, tiny functions, we can now just slowly give some of these functions to perhaps AWS Lambda. All right, so I hope you're starting to get a little bit excited because soon we're going to be implementing our own Lambda function with AWS. For now though, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.